as far as the academics, you're going to take your math and your science with us. You don't take it at your home school any longer. And so that's really important that you realize that. Occasionally we have a kiddo that somehow that gets mixed or missed, and so we'll say, hey, wait a minute, unless you really want to take another something or other, we need to go back to your school and talk to them. We've worked really hard to talk to the counselors, and so they understand exactly how our program is structured. So here are the courses again that you would take. Remember, the math or the science that you take is based on what you came in with. And the way we've structured it is that we're pretty flexible in that we can find another science or another math that coincides with your schedule, and so that works really well. So typical students would come in and they say need to start with Algebra 2, and so their sequence of courses as far as math would be their Algebra 2, their pre-calculus, and then AP statistics, and that's the normal if they were here for 3 years. Then the 2-year students, typically as a junior, you've come in and normally you've already had Algebra 2, so you're going to be in your pre-calculus and then go into AP statistics. Science is a little different just because it seems to be one where schools differ in opinion as to when they're going to offer certain courses. And so that one changes a little bit. But typically a student would come to us and they would not have had any chemistry. That's pretty classic, no chemistry. And so their first course would be a chemistry course, because that's one thing that we've kind of said we don't want anybody getting out of here without having a chemistry course. So their first course is typically a chemistry course, so it's the honors chemistry class. And then the second course that they would take would be either, if it's a 3-year, AP Biology, and then you would take your anatomy course. If it's a 2-year student, so you've taken chemistry, if you're at this point and you still need your biology, then obviously we have to put you in AP Biology to meet your graduation requirements. But it could be you've already had it, and so then you would go ahead and take anatomy. That's one where we have to be, I say, a stickler about is you want to meet your graduation requirements, obviously. So those change a little bit based on the needs of the students and what they come in with and the school that they came from. So did they even offer these courses in that semester? Stillwater is typically the school where we have, it's not that we have any issues, but you have so many courses by doing it in the block schedule that we have to adjust a little bit. And then if you notice in the red, there's a whole bunch of these additional courses. So depending on where you are academically, maybe you're really advanced, you've taken a lot of this. We also have all these other options on the AP side that are actually taught at the same time in pre-engineering, so we can send you into that class if you need that one as well. Then the other ones that are mentioned in there is that some of the courses that, if you're not familiar with Project Lead, the way that you don't recognize are Principles of Biomedical Sciences, Human Body Systems, Medical Interventions, Microbiology, which is regular microbiology, but then Environmental Sustainability. And those are Project Lead the Way courses, and those are in a block schedule, so one in the fall and then one in the spring. PBS is our introductory course to biomed. So it's learning not just skills, but also equipment and tools and things like that, getting you really acquainted with things so that when you move into the next course, which is the Human Body Systems, that you're familiar with how to use a microscope. You've already used the microscope. You've already run some gels through electrophoresis. You've already done some things, but it may have only been once, but you've done them. Okay, so it's gotten you ready for the next course. HBS is really about, it's different body systems, but it's not an anatomy course. It's not, it doesn't include all the body systems, and it's not the same memorization of every single, like all these muscles and all of these things. It's very different. And then medical interventions is looking at all the interventions that we use to diagnose and treat patients when we see them in healthcare. And so it looks at a lot of different testing and how that works. And then it also walks through stages of, say, diagnosing somebody with a disease and then taking it even a little farther. Can we do something in the future to prevent this from reoccurring in later down in the family? So genetic counseling and genetic testing. So it looks at some of those things. It also looks at how vaccines are made, which is kind of interesting considering COVID right now, because our kids were already very familiar with what this looked like because they'd already experienced it. Microbiology, our approach is a little different in microbiology just because ours is more lab-based than theory-based, making sure that the lab skills are just really good for students that are going into the college from us. And then environmental sustainability is looking at things in the environment. It does look at bacteria, waterborne illnesses, GMO, how did we modify things? And so it looks at all of those things. Then you also get the CPR certification when you're done with the course, which is different than the 1 hour. I think it's just 1 hour you have to graduate, but it's different than that. And typically I typically teach that sometimes in MI and sometimes in one of my sciences. This year I think that we're doing it in this year, so in anatomy they'll get it there. So, and you can move to the next slide. Okay, and so this one is just, a lot of students will kind of talk about, you know, basically why should I even do this program, and you know, what benefits does it have for me and things like that. And so one of the things that we spend a lot of time doing is we do work in teams. And some students will say, well, I don't like to work in teams, but there's really not any field in health or science that you're going to work in that you don't need to be part of a team. And so we really work at building team skills and making sure that everybody's an active member of that team and working at all times. And it's not that we do teams all the time, but we do work in teams. And some people like it and some people don't. Another thing is we really strive very hard to make sure that we have the latest and the greatest technology that's out there so that students can actually learn on things that they will be using. So we do take advantage of that. And I can't say that I've ever asked for something that I've been told you can't have that when we really talk about what students need. We have lots of microscopes, which it's funny because we use microscopes this week, and one group from a particular school said, I don't even know that we have microscopes at school. I think they probably have them. It's just for whatever reason, they're just not utilized. So, I mean, so it's interesting what students say to us about things from their home school, but that's always nice. We're working at tours. Tours have not been existent because of COVID, but normally, you know, the kids would actually go and tour the emergency room, and they'd go up to the top and see where the helicopter flies. And there's many different ways that we can do tours. We've done some virtual tours. They're just not the same. But we have lots of opportunities for tours. We have OSU has a lab day we've taken students to do, which has always been fun because the students are very familiar with what's going on in the lab at OSU. The other thing that we do is we have HOSA, which is a competitive, or not, it's our CTSO, but it's like FFA, FCCA, all of those things. So it's the career tech side of it, where students can compete in areas based on skills and knowledge that they've learned while they've been here. They can compete at the state level and at a national level. Our kids have done really well. Statistically or historically, we've had one a year that's gone to nationals, which has been a lot of fun. Meridian does pay for them to go to nationals, pays for their plane ticket and their hotel and everything that you might need. They even give a stipend for food while you're there. And it's nice to be part of such a big event and to experience that competition at that national level. We work on a lot of communication skills. So making sure that we can interact with each other in a kind and appropriate way, I guess. And all kinds of things, learning how to use technology, which it's always interesting to me to see where some skills are, different skills are, the ability to type, the ability to not really type but to text kind of thing. So I mean, those are all those 21st century skills and these soft skills that we're talking about really working on. Learning how to format an APA paper, which is important too for our kids, because that's the way that you're going to write. And so we learn about all of these things. And then I guess I can't say it enough, the hands-on experience. If we can do it, we're going to do it. We don't want you to just be saying that you're stuck sitting in front of a book all the time. We want you to, I mean, I'll show you, just, I hadn't done it before, but like the students right now, we're working out of this workbook, and so they're coloring in their workbook and they're looking at microscopes. I know it's hard to see, but I just want you to see, they look at microscopes and see, this is what I saw, and then they write about it. Partly just because who doesn't like to color a little bit? As far as when you're learning, I mean, I know some are like, that's not really my thing. It's not about that. It's about, I would rather do something like that, incorporate that into the lecturing, as opposed to somebody that's standing there and just talking to me the whole time. And so I think we work really hard to keep it fun. And sometimes even my greatest thrill is kind of just doing this in such a way that it was so fun and engaging that they don't think about it as learning and being in school. And that's when it's even better. So I think those are some of the things that we do really well in our program. I do think, our last slide is kind of just, it talks about, nothing speaks like experience. And I really wish that we could have you guys face to face on campus to see, because I know that we are not doing it justice to our program. We have a beautiful, beautiful brand new building, which our students are so proud of, and they're happy to have. There's so much space in here. Mrs. Cottom's in her background showing you what our classroom actually looks like. They're really spacious. Do you want to tell them some of your stuff?
I do the BI and PBS, and first of all, one of the first things that we start off with is talking about a person who has died and going through some of the things, excuse me, the crime. So that's always a great way to get everyone involved in groups, because you have to start off, and we have 11 sending schools. That means 11 schools actually students from 11 schools come to Meridian. And when you do that, you're going to be in class with, say, kids from Guthrie, Stillwater, Morrison, Pawnee, Glencoe, Perkins, Perry, Mulhall, Orlando, Agra, and Kearney. And I know I've missed some because 11 to remember each one of those is kind of difficult. So we try to get you guys where you actually know each other. You have some of the same interest if you're here. And one of the things that we also want to stress is that we want you here because you want to be here. We don't want you here because your parents think that this is a program for you. In the past, we have had students that their friends are coming, or their mom and dad think that this would be a great fit for them. And sometimes it isn't, because sometimes you're like, this really isn't what I want to do. But this is always a good place to start, because we've had students in the past and they're like, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. And then they end up going to another program and they thrive in that other program. So what would you rather do? Figure out whether you like science and math when you're here, or wait till you go to college and you've spent all of that money trying to figure out, well, yeah, I like it, or no, I don't like it. Wish I wouldn't have wasted, $6,000 or $7,000 trying to figure that one out. So in PBS, we go through a lot of basics. One of the slides it was showing where they're doing blood draws. We actually learn on a fake arm, how to draw blood. We do your vital statistics. We look at crime scenes, just a whole array of health careers and how things work in the health field. Your heart, that is one of the major portions of what we do is the heart. So important. And one of the things that I I love about this program is everything that you are learning is a life skill. Everything in PBS you can take from the time you've learned it, and you can go through the rest of your life. And you go to the doctor's office, you understand what they're talking about. You know, there's so many people out there that they decide to have a family and they take their baby into the doctor, and the doctor starts, you know, talking, and they're like, I have no clue. Or reading articles in the newspaper. And that's what a lot of people, when they first come here, is like, when will I ever use this? You would be surprised at when you use the information that you've gleaned from our programs. So I also do the chemistry, the honors chemistry, and then the algebra 2. So basically your first year, your first semester, depending on what math class, and if you're a junior or a sophomore. Sophomores, you're pretty much stuck with me for the first semester, and then you get to go to Mrs. Hare for a class in the second semester. And I did have one of my students today was like, wow, it just seems to go so much faster when we don't have you all day. And I'm like, well, thanks a lot, you know. But they basically what they were saying is that it's really nice when you can have 2 different teachers instead of the same teacher for all 3 classes. You do get a break. You could come morning or afternoon, but your break is about 10 to 15 minutes long. And that is where our kids really develop their friendships, is on their break time. Most of the time our students will leave the classroom because it's just where they can go and talk and just kind of be themselves without having, you know, Mrs. Hare or myself kind of watching over you guys. The building is brand new. The facilities are awesome, just outstanding. It's so exciting to be able to work in a place where, you know, they have really strived hard to make this the place that we want to work at. The people here are great. We have a great rapport with everyone on campus, although it's been really weird this year with COVID. So I don't know, what else do we need to talk about? Does anyone have any questions? You know, one of the things about our forum here is we can't see when people leave us. I know that we've added another person newly to ours, but we don't have any questions going on here. So if you have any questions, please put them in the chat, because we can't see you. We know you can see us. Here are some pictures of some of our students at work. These are first year students this year. They were all taken in PBS. So let's see here. On this one, we are doing a dissection of a heart. This one, we are getting ready to do DNA. This student is actually loading what we call a gel with DNA using pipettes. We're learning how to draw blood here. And this one, they're labeling the heart. So there's a lot of different things that you learn in just your first semester. And it's cool because it's so fast and quick. And the students are like, well, I can't remember. And then you think from day 1 to where they are by Christmas time, how much you guys have learned. And that's what is really cool to me. Some ways that you can look at this is you can visit our website, meridian.com. You can either contact us. You can look at our email addresses are on Meridian's website. You can apply for the program that you would like to join. And if you are going to apply for the Biomedical Sciences or the pre-engineering, there is another application that you will be filling out. Mrs. Hare, you want to kind of explain that process for them?
Sure. So all of these forms are supposed to be online. There was one they were adding, so hopefully they put it. I'm going to have to move because I got to get my light to turn back on. Okay. Yeah, we have these lovely lights that if you stop moving, they think that nobody's there. So yeah, the forms are on there. The additional form, there's 2 of them, I guess. One is a teacher recommendation. It's supposed to be from a math or a science teacher, I believe it specifies on there. And then there's also part of it is having your counselor sign off. Part of that is they know you way better than we know you. Honestly, we can look at your academics. We can look at ACTs if you've had them and if you haven't had them. We can look at all of that, but your teachers know you and your abilities, and so that's really important. So you want to make sure that that person is actually going to say something about you, letting us know that you would be a good fit for the program, and that's just really important. So it's just somebody else letting us know that they have support for you in the program. And then the other one is it's got some questions for you. Some of them are basic, just kind of asking, what do you know about biomedical sciences, and what are your actual career interests? What do you like? What do you not like? There's just some basic things. And this is supposed to be handwritten by you, where we just get an opportunity to meet you in your words. And so that's another part of it. It is really important to be thoughtful as far as what you say in there. When you look at these applications sometimes and somebody puts like 2 words in there and somebody else has written sentences and sentences of, like they're trying to sell us on why I really want to come to you. It makes a difference. So that's kind of what we're asking you to do, is to submit these extra 2 documents. We do look at things to look at, because I want you to know it's not just this academic side of it. We'll look at attendance. Like, do you have a student that's not in class for whatever reason all the time? That's kind of this like red flag. I should be concerned maybe that they're not in class. Sometimes there's medical reasons. Like right now, we would how many of you, I can't imagine, have had to be quarantined yet, So sometimes you get stuck being quarantined, and that doesn't mean anything about attendances. Or maybe you have some sort of a disease, maybe you're diabetic and you have huge issues with your sugars or whatever. That's not what we're looking for. We're looking for those absences when you have a student who's missed like 9, 10 days of school, and we don't know why they missed 9 or 10 days of school. And so we do look at attendance as well. We do see, because your grades do get sent to us, but it really is a small portion of it. That's the part I want you to understand. We look at that part. We do look at, what did you say and write about yourself? What did your letter of recommendation, what did they say or write about you? Those are important things that we really pay attention to. So those matter. Completed applications matter. So you turned in everything we asked you to turn in, versus a student that said, I'm just going to turn in the regular standard Meridian application. I know that there is a due date on it, but honestly, because of COVID, I'm not even sure what that due date looks like. Do you know, Mrs. Cottom?
They said February 1st was still the expected day for those, and I'm holding to February 1st. Not that that is the cutoff, but that's when they would like most applications in. So I'm still guessing February 1st, which actually would be February 2nd, I think would be Monday.
Okay. And typically, just because another one students normally ask, or parents a lot of times ask, is when will we know? As long as everything goes like that and we have the applications by February, that doesn't mean that we get them in our hand, though, by February 1st. But typically, they ask for us to make decisions about 2 weeks before spring break. And part of that is if there's somebody who somehow ended up in our spot that really wanted to be in health careers or something like that, or maybe we looked at it and thought they might be a better fit for another program. We need to get that sent to them so that they can make decisions. So we'll actually have looked at them usually about 2 weeks before spring break. However, you won't be notified typically until occasionally, I think 1 year during spring break, letters went out. But historically, it's week after spring break, we say that you would know whether or not you actually got into the program, that they would send that out. And then that's usually when all of a sudden parents and students start calling, as far as they have all these questions, because like tonight, you don't have a lot of questions until you get in, and then you're like, oh my gosh, now what do I do? And so typically we'll have a whole bunch of questions. In a normal year, at the beginning of school, we would have a parent meeting, or I guess it's at the end of the year, and talk to parents and things. I'm not sure that's going to happen. And so I don't know what that's going to look like. Is it another Zoom thing? I just don't know.
Also, the signing night, I don't know what's going to happen with that.
I just don't know. We normally have so many activities we do as far as getting you situated, and we want to get you on campus over and over and over to get you excited about coming. I'm just not sure that's going to look the same this year, unfortunately. But it'll still be just fun. It's going to look differently. But my point was that you're going to have a lot of questions. Those who get into the program are going to have a lot of questions. What do I do now, kind of thing. And so we'll have something that talks about this again. And so that'll be really important for you guys to make sure that you have access to that. The big thing is, honestly, is if February 1st is that date, you need to get your application in by that date so that we have them to look at. Because when we get them, we start going through them immediately and making decisions real quick. I mean, we don't have a completed list right away, but I just mean we get them and start looking at them. And I try not to even put my eyes on any of those applications till I have all of them, because I don't want to know anybody's names until I have applications. And so it's important for you to get your application in on time, so I have your name right at the very beginning. It's just really important. So I know we have several new ones, so we'll kind of start back again. Those of you that have been here.
One of the questions, if you want to answer, was, sorry, just went blank. What careers are we looking at as far as the biomedical sciences are concerned?
Okay, so biomedical sciences is a very inclusive umbrella, so to speak. So right now we have our first student that has, she's starting vet school. So she's going to go into vet med. We have one student who is getting ready. He's getting ready to graduate, and then he's going to study for the MCAT. He wants to take a gap year, study for the MCAT, and go to med school. We have two that I'm aware of right now that are in engineering. One, which is kind of funny because this one realized that in biomed, they were like, I don't have to do any math, and I love math. And so she jumped to engineering because she wanted to do math. We have one that's doing chemical engineering. She's interested in the biology side of it. So chemical engineering is even immunizations and developing stuff like that. And then we have another that's in, I can't think of which branch of, or which engineering for sure, but he wants to do biomedical engineering, which OSU doesn't actually have that program yet. And so he's interested in prosthetics. So he's like working on how do I get to prosthetics through the engineering side. And then we have several in nursing school, getting ready to graduate and in different stages of that. Students are interested often in research, biology, microbiology, lots of science stuff. Those are the ones that come to mind initially. Physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy. I mean, yeah, so a lot. The thing is, what you need to understand is that the students that come to us are saying that the career that I'm going to choose is going to require college. And in order to be really successful in college, this is the program that's going to help me get there. Because we're going to make sure that you have really good math and really good science to be successful in college. So that's typically one of the reasons people will come to us, is they know that their career is going to make them go to college. And so they're just really getting their foundation nice and strong there. So hopefully that answers your question. Generally speaking, I would say anything. Oh, we also have a student that's working on it being a teacher. So, and that got added along the way. I totally forgot about him. Anyway, so it just varies, is what I would say. Two of them, I guess, because we have one in elementary education and one in science teacher.